and welcome to the ADHD Entrepreneur Podcast. Today I'm with Matt Allen of Spanky's, and we're going to get to kind of know him a little bit more in depth and kind of see what his story is. So Matt, let's just kick it off right away. How did you end up getting to Spanky's? Like, what is that backstory?
Well, it's a long backstory, and it many years of trial and tribulation and career changes and learning brought me to kind of where we're at today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's see, we'll go back to the beginning. I think I was fortunate enough to live in a house where I had a mom and a dad that were very active in our lives, right? And I think that's super important that whether your parents are together or not, that your parents are active in your life and you get feedback from your mom and your dad, and that helps shape you to the person that you are. You'll ask, my father passed away years ago, but my mom is still alive. If you ask her, how I was as a kid, she'll probably tell you I was a nightmare, which I probably was. I was hard to keep up with. So yeah. I was a middle child and kind of a free spirit, and I was always into something. Outdoors, typically, back in the day in the 70s and early 80s, it was spending time with your friends and being outside, and I think that kind of gave me an adventurous type of spirit, I think. Growing up early, we had chores, we had, things to do around the house. Didn't pay very well.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but started with paper route when I was young with my brother. Getting up every morning and every day and having tasks to do. We're kind of one generation off the farm, so we grew up with that kind of farmer's mentality. Get up early, start your day early, get prepared, which I found a lot easier to do in my personal life than my school life.
Oh yeah.
Was a great student. Just underachieved, I think, a little bit, and because I was bored.
I was going to say, yeah, that's usually what it is, if you're just not interested in school.
Yeah, I was interested in, some of the topics. I loved history.
Yeah.
I loved applied sciences. I was not great at math. I wasn't very good at English. I was dyslexic, so still am.
Yeah.
I have to think about things a lot, especially when I'm writing. But the creative side of me is there, right? I'm very creative. But, going back to having set responsibilities and having jobs, I think kind of trained me early on that, while I had fun in my life, I had responsibilities, and that kind of drove me to, try to be a responsible person, especially when it came to work.
Yeah.
I think work more than anything I could turn off. I don't want to say turn off my personality, but some of my bad traits when I got to work and focus on the job at hand. And, I didn't want to let my parents down when I was young, and I also didn't want to let my boss down when, I had a job. So, I was blessed to have that kind of discipline in my life. Going to college, that was the thing to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the 80s, it was, where are you going to college?
Mm-hmm.
Trades were not pushed like they should have been, I think, back then.
Yeah, and that's, for many, many years, college has been pushed, and even probably as far as, past 15 years, I think past, 15 years or so is really when that mindset started to change.
Yeah, right.
As they started realizing, oh no, how are we going to pay for all of this schooling that people aren't even using?
Yeah, plus, the trades, the demographics was starting to shift, and it was getting older, right?
Yeah.
And you needed young blood in the trades. I'm not an electrician or a carpenter or a welder, and those people are super important.
Yeah.
I wish I would have been pushed in that direction maybe a little bit when I was younger. Not sure that would have suited my personality, but so anyway, I went to college for a couple of years, did terrible. I did really good at the wrong things.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Partying?
Yeah, having a good time, social interaction, was great. So I think my personality developed a lot there, and I learned I wasn't suited for the college life. So, what do you do after that? So this is really my first kind of key milestone in my life. Is do I let that affect me in a way that my life goes the opposite direction, right? Which a lot of times it does when you're at that age in your life, in your early 20s, what do you want to be? Most people still don't know, right?
Yeah, and you're very impressionable at that time.
Right, extremely. So, I knew I wanted to be. I wanted to have at least what my parents brought me up with, the luxuries that they gave us, and it wasn't much, but we lived a pretty comfortable life, modest life, middle class life. And I knew I wanted at least that, right? So you got to work.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to find something that you're good at to make money at and to provide all those great things, right? So I just wasn't there yet. So I had a friend of mine who actually was one of my college roommates, who's a couple years older than me, and he's like, look at the military. So I did. I had to make I had to make a call, and went in and talked to some recruiters and found out that I scored pretty high on the ASVAB test, which was great. Probably the first test I really scored high on in my life because I was motivated to do something, right?
Yeah.
Got a good job. I ended up going into the Navy. Did very well in the Navy, and I was an aviation structural mechanic. I work on airplanes.
Oh, wow. I don't think I ever knew that about you.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, it's an important part of my life. I talk about being in the service, which I'm really proud of.
Yeah, because I know you do a lot for the service, but I guess I never realized that correlation that you were in the service. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, well, it was a well-needed part of my life. I mean, it really changed the way I think about everything, really, when I got in the Navy. The discipline that you learn is really second to none, and it gives you motivation. That learns you how to think about your day, do your tasks, accomplish things, and also is a great sense of teamwork. Not letting the fellow sailor or soldier by your side down. So it was really good. I was a structural mechanic. I worked. My first station was in Pax River, Maryland. I worked on air test and evaluation squadron 1. So we worked in anti-submarine warfare, a lot of experimental stuff. So we get to try out new things.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it was great. I ended up getting out after 4 years, and then transitioning into the civilian life. So
was that a tough transition?
It wasn't tough. So actually about 2 weeks after I signed to go in the Navy, I met my wife. We met at a job. I didn't tell her I was going into the Navy.
Oh,
so I had a few months with her. I met her in like May, and then ended up going to the Navy in August.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long until you actually told her?
It was like 3 weeks. I had to get my hooks in there. So,
reel her in.
Yeah, right. So we had a great relationship when I was in. We were apart a lot, right? Which you learn a lot about your spouse. You learn a lot about your partner when you're away.
Yeah.
We made it through that. Ended up getting married right before I got out of the Navy, and then so transitioning wasn't hard because my job in the Navy was more day to day, just like it was like a job, right? Yeah. We had commitments other than just working on planes, but getting out, I transitioned to the civilian world easy because I had my wife, and yeah, just.
Yeah, the support system.
Support system there, yeah. It was easy for me. But I think, well, now what do you do, right? You're out of the Navy, 4 years. It's great. I mean, a lot of people hire vets, but I don't have a college education, right? So I started looking for jobs, and in high school, all the way through high school, along with the paper route, I worked at a pet store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great job as a kid. I loved animals. I loved being outside, right? I loved animals. And when I got out of the Navy, my wife was going to college in Dayton. I ended up finding a job at a tropical fish wholesaler.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah. So fish would come in from all over the world.
Yeah.
And then these fish would go out to pet stores or collectors, and it didn't pay very well.
I can't imagine.
No, it's terrible. But it was something to kind of get me going, right?
Yeah.
So I worked there for a handful of months, and then during that time, I had an executive from a small pet store chain that was touring the facility, and we just kind of talked, and he's like, "Man, you're a sharp kid. What are you doing working here?" And I'm like, "Well, just got out of the military." He's like, "Come and see me. Let's talk about a job." So I went and met with him the next week, and he offered me a position in one of their retail stores as a manager, a department manager. Went and worked for him for a while. His name is Alex. He's from South America, very regimented person, very disciplined, very well dressed, very well spoken. But for some reason we got along really well. He liked me. So he was in the corporate office, I was in the store, he'd check up on me, make sure I was doing good, had a great store manager there, and this is, I'm in my early 20s. And then slowly, as new positions became available, kind of worked up the ladder until the point where within a couple of years I was actually in the corporate office buying for, working underneath this person who found me in this terrible job in Dayton,
That's
Ohio.
awesome.
Yeah, so, and then, I got, he just kept exposing me to different disciplines in the business world, right? Everyone needs that mentor if you're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You can work hard and do it on your own, don't get me wrong, but networking and building that inner circle is extremely important too.
Oh yeah,
right?
that helps kind of speed up the process too. So
Super.
It
Yeah,
saves you a lot of mistakes that you would
yeah.
have otherwise made.
Absolutely. So he kind of brought me took me under his wing, and I kept moving up the ladder, and I kept refining my skills in the business world. And he wasn't a great teacher. He would just expose you to different things, right? So he's like, one day he comes to me and here's a spreadsheet. I want you to rearrange this, and I want you to do some analytics for me. I'd never worked in Excel before. And I went, yeah, but I didn't want to admit that I didn't know what I was doing, right? So I figured it out. Started.
How long ago was that? Like,
Excel was, I would say fairly new.
so like back in like the mid '90s ish.
This would have been, yes, early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, mid 90s. So I just started asking questions to a couple of the accounting guys, and they'd show me a couple tricks, and then just figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And became very good at analytics and looking at trends. And then the next job offer came, and just kind of kept working in the corporate world until I made it up about as high as I could without a college education, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever, looking back, consider going back to college, knowing that the military would have paid for it?
Yeah, that was always there, right? The GI Bill was always there, but I also had 2 young kids and a wife, and it was like, plus I was kind of on the fast track where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back at it now, yeah, probably could have gone back to school, but I think I learned more by just challenging myself and taking the challenges that my boss and my peers gave me. I worked with a lot of very smart people, Stanford, Berkeley, Harvard, MBAs, people that would they didn't really know my background. They just saw me as a coworker and would challenge me and give me a lot of things to do. And man, I just try to make it happen, and it helped shape me tremendously. I always knew I wanted to own my own business, especially as you start seeing, you get involved with companies, you start seeing how they make money, right? One of my favorite, the last probably 15, 20 years of my life, I worked, before I started my own business, I worked in marketing, sales and marketing, primarily in marketing and product development. So I get to use that creative side of my brain again. But then also on the marketing side of product development, you do a lot of analytics, right? Do a lot of analytics, and you do a lot of consumer research to try to understand what triggers customers to buy products and what attributes products need to be able to be appealing to customers.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a skill set I still use today, right? And, and you probably do too. Is
absolutely.
Yeah, you want to make products that people like, and you want to make products that taste good to people, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was. I loved marketing. I love developing new products. I got to work with a lot of great R&D people that were very creative and analytical, and engineers, and just getting exposed to all of that was great for me, especially in my younger days. Seeing how a product comes from ideation all the way to where it's sitting on a shelf, it's pretty impressive.
It is. It's crazy to see just what the timeline is too.
Yeah.
Because some products can take a very long time to get there.
And I've worked on both, right? I've worked on products where, you got to get it to market fast, ASAP, and that typically doesn't happen in the corporate world, right?
Yeah.
Especially with big customers or big companies. They have their phase gates and all the different things that they do, the process and procedure that they do for a reason, right?
Oh yeah.
To get it to market. And then I've worked for smaller companies where they're quick and nimble and able to react, right? I love that world.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but then, designing and developing a product, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders. If you're not doing all the process and procedure, the due diligence that these bigger companies do, they do that to mitigate their risk.
Correct.
Right?
Much greater chance of failure when you do it quick.
Yes, but it's fun.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah, right. So spent a lot of time overseas, in Europe and in Asia, doing product developments and touring facilities and manufacturing facilities. About half our products were made in the U.S., about half were made overseas, the companies that I work for. So getting experience different cultures and seeing the world was a great part of my life too. My professional life wasn't a lot of fun, especially as I got older.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Time
away from the family and all that. I'm guessing Karen didn't get to come with you.
No, she didn't get to come with me, unfortunately. Yeah. So, but spending 20 some days in China is not a good time. No. Getting sick in China or in Asia is not great. Having the flu over there years ago, and just the experience of watching different cultures and how they do things and how they overcome obstacles. Especially in China, you got manufacturing, supply issues, not a whole lot of issues with people. But as China has become more capitalistic, you see the demand for people. Workers actually can go to the next factory because they can make $1 more. So I started to see that towards the end of my career. I love bringing new product to market, and that's really, going into Spanky's. I think I kind of knew what I wanted it to be and wanted it to look like, and what kind of services we want ahead of time.
What made you decide to? So you had all that corporate world background. Yep. What made you decide to get into the pizza business?
Okay, that's a great story. My wife, when I met her, worked for. My wife is an occupational therapist, so this is before she went to college. She took care of handicapped children, special needs kids, cerebral palsy and whatnot. And she worked for a family where she was a caregiver for a child that had cerebral palsy. And the family, the husband of the family, opened a bar and restaurant and had a great pizza recipe. He worked years ago, in his younger years, in a pizza chain in Columbus, Ohio, and loved loved that style of pizza, and eventually opened up a bar and restaurant. So Karen would bartend or work in the kitchen at night. So she was there for a couple of years. He's still a great friend of ours, and when we moved away from Columbus, moved out of Ohio years and years ago, it was hard to find that style of pizza anywhere, right? When we moved to Waterford from California, we moved here from California.
Oh wow!
Yeah, from a job that I was out there for a couple of years. We had to drive to Racine or drive to Milwaukee or drive to Kenosha to get the style of pizza that we were used to.
Yeah.
And I always joked with her, we've lived in Waterford in Wisconsin for 23 years or 24 years now. Love it, wouldn't go anywhere else. This is kind of when we got here, I'm like, this is my style of, this is perfect for us.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So, I always joked with Karen, I want to open a bar and restaurant. I want to bring the pizza, our pizza, Rick's Pizza, to Waterford. It's you telling your wife you want to open a bar, is especially in your 30s, it's not it's not. I don't know if it's risky, but she didn't want that lifestyle.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. And I was a little crazy back then. Not crazy, it was just fun.
Yeah.
I like to go out and have a good time. So it may not have fit my personality back then. So as I got out of my last job and kind of looked at my options and what I wanted to do, I didn't want to work for anyone anymore. I want to work for myself. So we kicked around some ideas. Karen and I talked about, what could we do? What kind of business could we start? And then I brought up the bar pizza business again. And I actually did like a presentation like I would do to an investor and said, here's what I'm thinking. It wasn't just open a bar. It was, this is a business that I want to grow into something special, right? I just don't want it to be a beer and a shot and a pizza place.
Yeah.
I want to provide community a nice place to go where they can get great food in a bar atmosphere. And when I say bar atmosphere, that welcomes, we have Little League teams in. We have girls in tutus that are going to Forsyth Dance Academy. It's a family-friendly place. It wasn't when we opened it up or when we took it over. But I kind of explained to her my vision, and she bought in. And gave me the thumbs up, and that's pretty much all I needed. As soon as she said yes, I went as fast as I could.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
So this is our 6th year in business.
Okay.
Yeah. And
see, I feel like Spanky's has been here forever.
That's a good thing, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like a staple in Waterford now.
Yeah, it's we have hundreds of people that come through our door every day, thousands that come through. Every week. And we've taken kind of this lazy beer and a shot bar that had its heyday a while ago, right? But it's a house that's built in the 20s or 30s. And it really gave us a low cost, a way to test the business, get into the business and do it cheap, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Without, grandiose ideas in my head. But we need to prove out the concept. So I'm going back to my R&D days, right?
Exactly.
And my product development days. So we have this concept that we want to prove out. How can we do it? Well, and how can we do it inexpensively and see if it works? And then let's take the next step after that.
So we're still in R&D right now with.
I think we're beyond R&D.
I was gonna say, like, with how it is now, like, it just seems. For how small a space you have and what you were able to turn in there, like, it just seems like it runs so well.
Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. Some days it does, and some days it doesn't. That's just the nature of it.
Exactly. You're dealing with a bunch of employees, and I mean, it's always hard when you have a lot of people you're working with. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah, it's imperfect, and I like that. Right?
Yes.
I think in my head I want it to be perfect, but I know that it's never going to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, it's so we started with what we purchased, which was beer and a shot place that had a kitchen that wasn't utilized or not very well. And then within the first couple weeks of opening it up, I started pitching my story. This is what we're going to do. You know, and people would just like go, okay, this guy's nuts, but all right. You know, we're going to bring one of the best pizzas in Wisconsin to Waterford, and you know, we're gonna do some great burgers, and we're gonna have great kind of upscale tavern fare, and yeah. So it was, you know, I was telling the story about selling the product before we have it, right? Mm-hmm. And we got the kitchen up and running. We started doing some hamburgers and started doing some drink specials, and you know, I think the first week we were open, someone walked in. We're like, "We love what you did to the place." We didn't do anything. You know, we had a couple people that we kept that were employees at the bar. One is like our rock, Sabrina. So you have to have good people. Yeah. That's maybe another conversation. And I kind of. Yeah, I sold the story to her too, and she kind of probably said in the back of her head, "No way," but she was there, and she was hungry, and she wanted to succeed, make more money, and we wanted to succeed. So anyway, telling her about what we're going to do, and got her to buy in. She started telling the story too.
That helps a lot if you can get the employees to buy it.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you go there now, like Sabrina, you wouldn't know that she wasn't an owner with how she treats it, how she treats the guests, how she treats the employees, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, we give our people a lot of leeway when it comes, especially when it comes to taking care of the customer. Mm-hmm. You know, we harp on that, you know, greeting people and making sure people are comfortable, making sure everything is right, their expectations are met. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a lot of buy-in at the employee level, and that's huge. That's the culture that you have to build, though, to be successful. Yes. You want that from the dishwasher all the way to, you know, the owners. They need to have ownership in ownership in a sense that they feel responsible for the business and for the customer. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so starting you know, going back to the story, just eventually started making some improvements to the building. When we first started, we couldn't make our pizza. We didn't have a pizza oven in the kitchen, right? Wow. Yeah, and the kitchen was tiny. I mean, literally maybe twice the size of this table. Mm-hmm.
So wait, is the kitchen bigger now than what it was? Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, the kitchen's bigger, and we knew that looking at the building that we could eventually fit what the equipment we wanted in this small kitchen, but we had to renovate. So we shut down the kitchen for about 3 months. Actually had JD's Taste of Texas, who now is at Rivermore. He's a good buddy of mine. He came over and cooked in the parking lot for a few months.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was just kind of getting started in the area, and he's like, "Do you mind?" I'm like, "I love it."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he came in and cooked in the parking lot while we were ripping things apart. So we put a decent amount of money back into the building and knocked out some walls and made room for a mixer, which you got to make your own dough. You don't have to, but I can tell if I walk into a place it's not made, not homemade. Then our crust is like it's such an important part of our pizza.
Your crust is so good. It's unique. Like at least for me, I haven't had a crust like that really anywhere around here at all.
Yeah. There's a few that we parallels, or people draw parallels to. But that crust that's a lot of work every morning. Right?
I'm sure.
You know, we make that dough fresh every morning. But that's just one of the components of getting the pizza oven in. And so, you know, for months, I'd been weeks and months telling these people about this amazing pizza. And finally, after the kitchen was done, we were able to start kind of, now we can show people the full deck, right?
Exactly.
Now we can make the stuff that we've been talking about. And the first day we were open, we made dough that morning, and I said, we're just going to give pizzas away for like a week, right? It's like, it's like being a drug dealer. I don't want to say it, but it's like being a drug dealer. Anyway, you get them hooked on the product.
Exactly. Get them hooked and they'll keep coming back and they'll tell all their friends.
Yeah, so I think we started at, I don't know, maybe around noon. We started kind of bringing out pizzas, and people were sitting at the bar having a couple drinks, and he said, well, this is our new pizza. We'll be selling it next week. Well, within 2 hours, people are like, I need to buy one and take one home. We didn't even have to-go boxes. So we abandoned the whole giving pizza away very quickly because people were ordering one or two or more to take home. So we went out and got some to-go boxes and started making pizzas right away for people to take home and to dine in. And yeah, I mean, the rest is kind of history. We've been fortunate enough to get a lot of recognition in the area. Won some awards for our pizza and for our food. But I'm never satisfied. We just keep kind of up in the game, trying to bring.
And that's what you have to do. Otherwise, if you get stagnant, you're not advancing. You're falling behind.
Yeah, you can't lose sight of what got you there, right? You can't lose sight. And I don't want to sound like this big pizza guru. I've only been in the business for six years, right? But I've learned a lot in 6 years. And I honestly, I have a network of pizza gurus that I talk to that help me steer the ship. So, Paul De Luisa, who owns Luisa's on 50th and Salem, his family, he's been in the business for years. My buddy Burt Reynolds, not the Burt Reynolds, but the Burt Reynolds of Canal Winchester, where I grew up, owns a place called Kingy's Sports Bar, or Kingy's, we just call it Kingy's. It's got an actual name, but everyone that grew up there just calls it Kingy's. But it's been around since I was a kid, and Burt has been so giving of knowledge and just advice over the years. And then Rick Stover, the guy who we got the pizza recipe from, is still a person that I can call a number of people that are in this business, and they answer the phone right away. The Shirk brothers in Carroll, Ohio, who own a similar place. Call them, go to their place, run my pizza or put my pizza dough in some new ovens that they have and test it out and see how it reacts. So having that network, kind of transition a little bit onto people and the people that you need around you to make you successful. Having, instead of figuring it out on your own, have an idea, have a plan, but utilize people that know what the hell they're doing.
Exactly. It's not always what you know. It's definitely who you know.
Right.
Because that helps you out so much.
For sure. It's when you get into a new business, there's intricacies and things that you just don't know that come up, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Why isn't the pizza oven working? Well, anyone that's been around a deck pizza oven for a long time knows that these are the three things that you check on, and this is how to fix them.
Well, and commercial equipment is so different than regular equipment. Like, I can remember the first time that I baked cookies in our convection oven. I threw them in there at 350 for 12 minutes, like we would normally do in a regular oven. They all came out black. It's like, all right, we're gonna dial that down and shorten the time up, and like it's totally different. So if you can have people to lean on, that helps you out a lot.
Yeah, it shortens the curve, right? The learning curve. So that's one of the things when people come and talk to me about how to take their business to the next level. One of the first things I tell them is, what's your support network like? Who are the people that you rely on for your information? Especially if they've never been in the business or this is a brand new concept or idea.
Yeah.
Find people that are willing to talk to you about their business and learn from them. One thing that I've found in this area, I'm not sure if it relates in other areas, that the business owners in Waterford are extremely giving. Chuck Terosian from River City Lanes, who they have a pizza business there. Chuck we have breakfast probably once a quarter, should be every month, but we're always running. But Chuck's, we happen to use some of the same locally sourced products. He uses the same pepperoni I use, which I love. Made it right here in Wisconsin. It's the best. But run out of pepperoni, Chuck, come on over and get it. Vice versa.
That's awesome.
Pizza boxes or whatever. or just in general, business questions to bounce things off of. And this community is so giving when it comes to that.
And that's something I can definitely attest to, having locations in multiple other areas. Waterford is definitely different. It's a lot more networking, a lot more working together, rather than it being about the individual for the most part.
Right.
Where that's what some of the other communities are. They're just looking out for themselves rather than just trying to help everybody.
Sure.
And so it's, to your point, it's a lot different in Waterford than a lot of other places.
Right. And if you think about how you started and who helped you out, when people come to you, it's, you got to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than intellectual property like recipes, I'm willing to give people just about anything they want, because that's the way that the people were with us when we started.
Yeah. Being able to kind of pay it forward.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things you mentioned was locally sourced products. And I think that's something that's important to you. Did you make that decision kind of early on that you're going to start using as much locally sourced products as possible?
Yeah, I think in theory, from the beginning, we always wanted to try to make the best product we could, and fortunately for us, we live in an area where there's great sausage and cheese and products, and in the summertime, the abundance of fresh vegetables is here. So there's a definite difference in quality when you look at stuff that comes from a regional or national supplier and what you can buy through local, smaller sources, right?
Yeah.
So it's super important to us, and that's why our menu kind of changes seasonal too. Our meat and potatoes of our business, of our menu, stays the same. Like if I walked in and we didn't have a sausage pizza, people would burn our place down.
Oh, your sausage is so good.
No, thank you. Yeah, it is great.
I love your sausage.
Almost gave up a secret, but I won't. It's super good, and we go through a lot of sausage in a week.
I believe it.
We go through a lot of pepperoni, but there's certain things that you need staple. But as the seasons change and the availability of products changes, then you have to kind of roll with that. So we source all of our cheese local. Most of our meat is local, and a lot of our vegetables in the summertime. And even not now, we work with a small organic farm. I should say small. Not they're getting bigger all the time in Burlington, and the girls there, they know what they're doing. They have some winter greenhouses, so I'm able to get some leafy green vegetables and whatnot, winter carrots, and because the greenhouses like potatoes and things like that come out of the ground a little sooner. They're starting to harvest potatoes right now, which is great because they're potatoes. When we can't get them anymore in the fall, we have about 4 months of buying what I think are inferior. They're still very good. Don't get me wrong. They're just not,
not to what you want.
Not So, finding suppliers like that can make your product offering a little more unique, and it also gives you some credibility marketing wise when you talk about your product. So
so one of the products you have that I really like is your burgers. Your burgers used to be kind of like a standard burger. Now they're more of the smash burger style. Why did you end up making that transition?
Okay, a couple reasons. One, I have a bartender that quite a few of my staff members have been in the food industry for a long time. And Sabrina grew up in the industry. Katie grew up in the industry. Katie Snyder. Maddie, who's one of our bartenders, has pretty much grown up in the industry. Cynthia. So people in my business, they've been around for years, and they give me a lot of feedback, right? Criticism, feedback, helpful hints, whatever you want to call it. But Katie's been telling me for 2 years, you got to do smash burgers. It's a new trend. And I'm like, I like thick burgers. You're going to stay with those. And to the point where our kitchen is so small and our griddle's so small that we weren't able to keep up with demand, and we had to change our product. Right?
That makes sense.
So we started experimenting with them about a little over a year ago, We brought them to market. We changed our burgers about, was it December time frame of this last year, because our cook time is considerably less, right? We can turn out more burgers, and the product, in my opinion, I like smash burgers. I think it's better. I think it's a better product.
Oh, it is. Like for me, when I went to your place before, I would almost always get pizza or chicken wings. Now it's pretty much a toss up between pizza or the burger. Like I love your guys' smash burgers. Especially how you updated the pizza burger with having the sausage patty on there too. They're just so good.
Right. Yeah, that's criticism and feedback that came from customers and from my staff when we launched the pizza burger the first time. But yeah, I think we're always, so burgers are now an obsession for me. And what I'm seriously nuts about them. I think about them all the time. And I'm always experimenting with them. We were lucky enough to work with a local butcher, Pritzloff Wholesale Meats, and they're able to do special grinds, and they'll do anything we want, right, within reason, for us. And so they've worked with me to kind of put together a grind of meat that we think is super good. And that helps, right? You got to start with a good product, with good ingredients. And then, sourcing the local cheeses, and then, one other area for inspiration is the web. The web, internet, social media, really. Right?
Yes.
That's just, I'm dating myself by my terminology I'm using. Looking at what other people are doing, obviously that inspires you, gives you ideas. It's like having a consumer focus group on your phone all the time.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, did you notice a big influx in sales on the burgers once you made that transition?
Yeah, huge. Part of it was we can cook more, faster. We can turn tables over a little bit faster now, so sales increased that way. But I would say our smash burgers when we started were good. I think our smash burgers now are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I just had we have one for Cinco de Mayo, even though it's not a true Mexican dish, but we have a jalapeno curd burger that we're selling this week. Has 2 quarter-pound smash patties on it, and then we use a jack cheese, and then quick pickle jalapenos, so we make those in-house. And then it's got a jalapeno aioli. We introduced it about a month ago, and the rave reviews. And then because we're a small place, I can't keep everything on the menu, so we took it off the menu for a couple weeks, and then brought it back for Cinco de Mayo. And I had it yesterday, and I'm sitting there talking to some regulars as I'm eating my hamburger, and I take the first bite, and I made a noise right away. And the guy looked at me, he's like, "What?" I'm like, "This is amazing hamburger," right? And he started laughing. He's like, "It is. I had it yesterday," it's that. So as much as I love our pizza, and our burgers are phenomenal. And you can be a one-trick pony. I mean, you can just do pizza really, really well, and you'll be successful. I don't think our market's really big enough for that.
Yeah.
So you have to have something to pair with it here. I think you appeal to more people when you have a few more offerings on your menu.
You give people options.
Yeah, right.
Exactly, and then they can bring their friends if they don't like pizza. They can get a burger or whatever. It's just
right.
Have a lot of offerings.
Yeah, we because we're small, we look at commonality of ingredients. If I can use it on the pizza side and the grill side, it's great. And that's why that pizza burger works so good. I already have everything there, right?
What's the biggest? So I've seen people posting on Facebook of how many patties they have for their burger. What's the biggest one that you guys have done so far?
We did. We had a customer come in and they ordered one with 4. Yep. Yeah. So 4 patty smash burger. And the post kind of went viral here locally, and then I think that person ate it. It took them probably 20 minutes, but it was they weren't trying to win a race eating it. They ordered it because they were hungry, and it looked amazing. So then I had another customer come in with his kids. and he said, the kid said, "Well, Dad, you said you could eat twice as many." And so they kind of held his feet to the fire, and I think he ate patty burger.
That's a lot of meat.
It was huge. And he ate it in less than 5 minutes.
Holy cow!
Yeah, and wings and a side of tater tots, I think. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that the biggest one so far?
This is the biggest one. Is 8 patties. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like that could be an interesting competition.
Could be. Yeah.
So that's kind of what's going on now. What does the future look like? You have a really exciting future coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, we knew within a couple years that the building that we were in was not going to get us to where we wanted to go, right? It helped us prove the concept that there was a need for the services that we were providing in this area and that people liked our food, right? And so we started looking at land, we started looking at buildings. Where was the next step? We knew we didn't want to leave Waterford, right? This is our community, this is where our base is. Even though now we draw from all over southeast Wisconsin, we knew we wanted to stay here. So we ended up securing some land on 36, which is about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from our current location. Yeah, and we're starting to build a new Spanky's here, which kind of gives us all the bells and whistles we want.
Yeah.
It's not overbuilt. It's going to be seats about 50 more people inside. Still going to be a tavern. Still going to be a tavern with gourmet or upscale tavern fare with great pizza. We're just going to be able to service the customer that much better.
Yeah, larger kitchen.
Way larger kitchen. Yeah, but not overbuilt. This is we don't have all the money in the world, right? So and
the economy's not the greatest right now.
Economy's not the greatest.
And money is expensive.
Right. Yeah, it costs a lot more to do this than it did 3 years ago. We should have done it 3 years ago. Hindsight, right? So the new place is going to be built for efficiency, really. On the weekends now, because of our situation, the wait time for food is long. 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half sometimes, which is unheard of in the restaurant industry. You call, if I call and the wait time is longer than a half hour, 45 minutes, I'm not ordering.
100%,
right?
yeah.
Or I'm not staying. And we have people that stand around and wait for an hour for a table. But it drives me nuts. I mean, it literally.
Because you're thinking of the customer experience.
I am. I'm thinking of the customer experience. Plus, if you have people sitting at a table for an hour, they take that table for an hour, right? Yeah. And most people that come in our place want to eat and leave, right? That's just the nature of the restaurant business. Being a tavern or a bar, some people want to eat and stay. That's fine for those people.
Yeah.
So, we've just outgrown our space. So the new place allows us to. On the weekends now we have to turn off takeout a lot. We have a takeout entrance. We have a kitchen that's designed to handle takeout and delivery, right? So there are revenue streams that we haven't hit or that we don't maximize right now that we'll be able to at this new place. And while this building in this economy and borrowing money in this economy is really not smart, we almost have to do it.
Yeah, because you've definitely outgrown your spot.
We've outgrown our spot, and the building is just in. It can't handle it anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's getting old.
It really can't. It's built in the 20s. Yeah. It's cast iron plumbing in the basement. It's old school, right? So we're fixing it all the time.
I'm sure. Is there anything new and exciting that's going to be in the new Spanky's aside from more seating and more efficiency? Yeah,
I mean, it'd just be a bigger space. We'll be able to cater more events. We'll be able to, we love to entertain, that.
Oh, yeah.
So we have live music at our current location at least 3 nights a week, sometimes 4. We love live music. We're a live music destination in the area. We have people that come to play we had a gentleman in from Wyoming last month. We've had people from Texas. We have people from Nashville quite a bit.
That's
quite
awesome.
Often, Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, the Chicago area that come up to Spanky's to play because we're kind of on the map now when it comes to music. So that experience will be greatly enhanced there. It gives us the more room to, if you don't want to listen to music or you don't want to live music, then you can eat in a spot that doesn't have live music.
Yeah.
So, plus a huge outdoor area, which in the summertime, people in Wisconsin, they've been inside all year. They want to be outside. So that outdoor dining area is going to be great. Plus, the outdoor area gives us room to grow, to expand.
A lot of additional seating then.
Yep. Yeah, and we've kind of already have an addition plan for this building. Like I said earlier, I try to think ahead. So, we have we have an addition plan that hopefully within the next, 3 to 5 years, we can pull the trigger on that.
That'll be exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully the economy kind of improves by then and enables you guys to do that.
We'll see. I mean, we're going to do our thing. I mean, there are factors that you can't control. Hopefully the economy is strong enough that we can make it through this, what we're in right now. We've been strong all the way through this. Knock on wood, it continues for us. But we'll see.
Well, and the crazy part is, like, right now where Spanky's is, it's really kind of like a hidden spot of Waterford on, like, the outskirts, right by the industrial park, where your new spot is essentially going to be right on Highway 36.
Right.
Right off of it. So you're probably going to get a ton more exposure that way as well.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons with both locations.
Yes.
Right? I mean, the current place that we have is quintessential neighborhood tavern.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is huge on neighborhood taverns.
A lot of people can kind of walk right to the...
Yep. Can come there, walk there, walk home. And if you go to any Wisconsin town, there's neighborhood bars, right?
Yeah.
So one of the challenges for us is to take that neighborhood bar feel to a new location that's not neighborhood bar. I mean, the limiting factors at our current location, space, and I hate to say location is one of the negatives. It's positive and a negative for us. We're limited to what we can do there. I have no more room to grow, no more room to add on.
Well, it's very rare, at least for me, when I go usually around lunchtime, or if you get a little bit late to lunch, you're pretty much parking in the road. You're not parking in the parking lot.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to have a community church behind us.
Yeah.
We're the bar in front of the church, and there's a church behind the bar. That's what the Pastor Bill and I always talk about. But they've given us access to park in their parking lot, and they've been great neighbors. So you're parking in the church parking lot a lot when you come to Spanky's. That's good. It's good to have that overflow of space. But the new location will have a huge parking lot, and room to grow that parking if we need to do that.
Yeah.
So the new building gives us a lot more room to do events, outdoor activities. We do a big event called Spanky Palooza every year. It's a 3-day music festival where we put up a big circus tent and set up a professional stage and have bands come in from all over the area and outside the area. And we raise money for Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin. A lot of the fundraisers that we do go back to veterans organizations because it's such an important part of my life, and even though it was 4 years of my life, it's still like there's not a day go by that I don't think about it and thank God that I made that choice in my life. So I've met so many amazing people through the veterans organizations that I'm in that I feel like it is something that I have to do while I'm here on this earth, is to give back to that cause. So last year we raised quite a bit of money for the Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin, and this year, again at Spanky Palooza, we'll be doing that again. So if you get a chance, stop out and see us. June 16th, 17th, and 18th.
Perfect.
Yeah, we have Lunch Money Bullies is a local band, right? And if you're not from Wisconsin, you need to come out and see the Lunch Money Bullies at some point in time.
Oh, 100%. They're a great band.
Yeah, so they're kind of our headliner of the event, and they're on Saturday night. But before the Lunch Money Bullies is a band. The Bullies better have their game on this year because they got to follow someone that's really, really good. Andy Brasher band out of Owensboro, Kentucky. And Andy is a Nashville recording artist and opened for Kenny Chesney in his 2011 tour. So Andy has been all over the country with Kenny, and he's played with a lot of amazing artists over the years. My wife and I just got the chance to go down and listen to his band down in Owensboro, his full band. So he's bringing that circus up to Waterford. They'll be opening for the Bullies on June 17th. So
that's awesome.
Good. Yeah. Got great music Friday night and Sunday during the day too. We got a band from Sister Bay that's coming down from Door County to play on Sunday, and then Friday night we have Jackie Brown's new band called Driving This Crazy. So yeah, but that type of event we could have as often as we want at the new location. We're limited at our current location because of our neighbors.
Oh yeah, definitely. A bunch of houses right around you, and don't want to disrupt them all the time.
Yeah, they're very tolerant. Well, most of them are customers.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, it does help. And we, as much as we'd love to have events outside, we understand that this is we're in a neighborhood community. Mm-hmm. So we have a couple this year, though. So we're going to be. It's our last year.
Yeah, you got to go out with a bang.
Got to go out with a bang. But we try to tie in. When we do these bigger events, we try to tie in a local community charity or a family or whatever that needs something. It's the other thing I wanted to bring up is tying your business to your local community is extremely important. Mm-hmm. From a marketing perspective, and also you're part of the community. So getting involved in local organizations and supporting local causes is super important. If you want to be successful in business, don't neglect your surroundings. Yeah. And be part of your local area, your local community. Yeah, it's super important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You kind of mentioned marketing, which kind of just triggered a little thing in my head. Mm-hmm. For you guys, what do you find is like the most useful marketing tool for you? Like, what is the best way to market your business?
Well, so for years it's been drilled into my head that you need to market in different ways to different people, right? Social media marketing is huge right now, but it's changing, and understanding that it's changing and how it's changing and how to market to that change is super important. Yeah. So as much as I've been in the marketing, professional marketing world for years, hiring an agency or someone to help you from outside your world to give you an outside perspective is super important. But also we do a little bit of print. We've done a little bit of radio over the years. We do some direct mail pieces. We do email. We do constant contact emails now.
I saw that just the other day.
Yeah, it's kind of a new push for us.
Yeah.
And then we have an app and a website and social media platforms. So we just
try to get it
from
everywhere.
A lot. Yeah, we focus on our app. If you run a business and you don't have an app, you're missing the boat.
See, and that's where we have an app, and I'm just behind on getting everything updated and doing that because I'm so focused on all the other tasks that we have to do. That's that's one of the challenges.
It's tough, especially when you have ADD.
Oh yeah, you're all over the place. There's too many shiny objects, especially in a kitchen.
Yeah. Well, everyone carries these around all day long, right?
Yes.
Your phone is such an important part of our day-to-day life, unfortunately. But the app is on the phone. We have, I think, over 4,000 people have downloaded our app. Right,
wow.
We're one location.
Yeah,
4,000 people that have downloaded our app, and
that's amazing. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, right? So within 5 seconds, not 5 seconds, 30 seconds, I can do a post. What's it called?
A push notification.
Yeah, push notification.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. Push notification out to customers about a special or an event, or I can offer them an exclusive deal. I can say your next beer's on Spanky. Stop in, show the bartender this code, and get your next beer on me. Right?
Yeah.
It is a way to instantaneously impact your business. Mm-hmm. We have numerous times done a push notification, have people walk in the door a half hour later with an offer, or to come see a band that they didn't know that was going to be here.
It's crazy how that works.
It's crazy, right? So priority-wise, social media's got to be number one. right? It's got to be number one.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. We're mainly Facebook and Instagram, but video and reels are becoming more and more. It's huge, right?
Yeah, Facebook pushes reels out like crazy right now.
Right? But they learn from TikTok and from Instagram.
And they want to take that market share back, so they're pushing it out for super cheap.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So those are, social media is super important. App is, I would say, is number 2. Website is number 3. And then your peripheral marketing, like direct mail, email, whatnot is. Email is as important as I think it is. It does get lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Yeah. The nice thing about food is that people see that visual. I know there's been many times where I'll see a food email from various restaurants, and I end up going there within the next day or two purely because I saw something on the menu that I liked.
Yeah, photography. I try to help some local businesses with their marketing strategy. And one thing I've always said is a picture's worth 1,000 words, 1,000,000 words, right? Impressions and passing shares and whatnot. It's super important, right? You can describe a product all day long. I mean, you can write a detailed description, talk about everything about that product. People don't read it.
No.
Very few, right?
Correct.
A picture, right, of an ice cream cone with it dripping down your fingers, or a little kid taking a bite out of it, or just a beautiful picture of a hamburger, a pizza, a car. It doesn't matter. Pictures stop people. They get people's attention, and it's super important, right?
Yes.
So we spend a lot of money on photography. I do a lot myself, a lot of special pictures that we put up. I've gotten pretty good at that. I've spent a lot of years and a lot of hours in photo shoots over the years. But just giving that inspirational, aspirational picture to customers is so important.
Huge difference.
Yeah. And you'll see the difference between a post that doesn't have great graphics and does have great graphics, and the engagement is so much different.
Yeah.
So we're visual people, right? And then websites are kind of placeholders, I think. Social, like if you're going to have menus or online ordering, it's
more static.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's still important. But if you're just doing one thing, you're missing the boat. You need to be playing in all those arenas.
So what advice would you give to a newer entrepreneur that wants to get into the food business?
Do your research, your homework, experiment. Most homes have a kitchen. Start in your kitchen. We had Halloween the year before we opened up. During Halloween, Karen and I made a bunch of pizzas, and when people would come to the door, we were pulling pizzas out. Hey, come in and try this pizza.
That would be such a cool story to be one of those people that tried.
Yeah, we had a lot of the kids in our neighborhood and a lot of families in our neighborhood, had the pizza first. So try, experiment, refine your recipes. Also find a niche. What area do you want to open your business? Or maybe you have such a great business idea, you find an area that needs it, right? But if you live in a town, you're going to open a business in your hometown. Find a niche. Find something that sets you apart from the others. I think that's really important. And then don't wait. I mean, that's the other thing, right? I started this business when I was 45, 46. I'm 52, I'll be 53 this year. So, it takes a lot of energy. So, and I'm not getting any younger.
No.
So, focusing.
No, but you still have a long ways to go, though.
I do. We have a long ways to go, and I'm focusing on myself this year to try to take some pounds off and get in better shape. My sons are on me, my wife's on me about that, because I can already see the process make me feel better and feel younger. But it takes a lot of energy. Do it when you're young. Take risks when you're young. Don't wait till you're old to do it. And then also what we talked about earlier is find mentors, find people that are trusted, that can give you advice, and listen to them. Learn from your mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes. I think one of the biggest obstacles that I have, and I think a lot of other people have, is that you're so sold on your idea that it can't be wrong, right? Is taking criticism on your ideas, being smart enough to understand your flaws and make changes, right?
Definitely have to be able to do that.
You have to do that. You're your biggest critic, and you have to be your biggest critic. And don't take criticism as criticism. Take it as a way to make yourself and your product better.
Exactly.
Right? Not everything that you hear is a great idea, but you got to be nimble. You got to be able. You have to have that flexibility within what you do to be able to improve and make changes. So, yeah, super important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Any other questions? Or
I don't think so. Like you talked about so many things that I learned about your business and yourself.
Yeah, I don't think so. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys for listening and tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys.
But I'll just put this out there.
Yeah.
I'm available. I'm busy, but I'm available, right? So if anyone out there wants to come in and talk to me, or wants to have a conversation with me, or if you have an idea and you want some help, come and talk to me. I'm willing to spend some time with you. So
that's awesome. And you helped me a little bit early on when I started Kravings with figuring out the POS.
Oh yeah.
Because that was something that was completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
Aside from jumping in the food business, which I knew nothing about, but
you got to have the tools, right?
Yep, exactly.
And I know you didn't end up sticking with that POS system, but having the tools to be able to make you successful,
exactly.
It's important.
So I mean, definitely, like I said, you helped me early on.
Sure.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on here. And thank you guys all for listening in and watching this one. And if that is it, then we will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much.
Stop into Spanky's.
Stop into Spanky's and try their pizza and their burger.
Yeah.
Best in the area.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.